Millions of tourists visit Yellowstone every single year. Most are completely unaware of what they are walking on. The entire national park sits directly on top of a dormant supervolcano. It is a massive, 40-mile-wide collapsed crater called a caldera. When people imagine it waking up, they expect a Hollywood spectacle. They picture rivers of molten rock and walls of fire, but they are focusing on the wrong threat. Lava is thick, heavy, and geographically restricted. It will barely travel a few dozen miles outside the park borders. The actual apocalypse comes from above. It arrives as a creeping, silent grey shadow. The public calls it volcanic ash, but that word is a dangerous misnomer. This is not the soft residue from a campfire. It is pulverized rock and microscopic, jagged shards of silica glass. It does not melt in the sun. It does not wash away cleanly in the rain. It is a heavy, abrasive weapon that shreds modern infrastructure. The lava is not the threat. The sky is. Look at the physical geography of Yellowstone. There is no massive, towering peak to point at. The original mountain blew itself to pieces millennia ago. Today, tourists are simply walking inside the volcano's ghost, but below the surface, a massive magma chamber is churning. The USGS, Yellowstone Volcano Observatory, constantly monitors the pulse. The warning signs of an eruption are entirely mathematical. They begin quietly in the digital data logs. Seismographs record a sudden, dense clustering of deep earthquakes. The ground physically rises, swelling upward by several feet. It is forced up by the immense magmatic pressure below. Hydrothermal pools boil over as toxic gas emissions violently spike. The magma pushes against the brittle crust, searching for a fracture. Government agencies issue cautious, measured emergency statements to the public, but human psychology is deeply flawed. We suffer from a fatal normalcy bias. Because the data isn't screaming, the public largely ignores it. They expect a localized disaster that they can simply outrun. They do not comprehend the true scale of a VEI-8 eruption. A volcanic explosivity index of 8 is a planetary mechanism. It is poised to eject over 1,000 cubic kilometers of material. That is enough pulverized rock and glass to bury entire states. The pressure underneath Wyoming becomes mathematically impossible to contain. By the time the public finally accepts the geological reality, it is far too late. The ground simply unzips. There are no massive fireballs raining from the sky. Instead, a terrifying vertical continent of grey ash punches upward. It violently breaches the stratosphere in a matter of minutes. Total silence is followed by a deafening, bass-heavy roar. The immediate destruction zone inside the park is simply erased, but the true paralyzing threat is now airborne. The Federal Aviation Administration mandates an immediate zero-tolerance grounding. Every single flight across North American airspace is halted. The sky dies in less than 24 hours. This is because modern jet engines cannot survive volcanic ash. Remember, this ash is actually microscopic shards of silicate glass. Silicate glass has a melting point of roughly 1100 degrees Celsius. A modern jet turbine operates at over 1400 degrees. When an aircraft flies through this expanding grey cloud, it sucks millions of these microscopic glass shards into the combustion chamber. The glass instantly melts into a scorching liquid. The molten glass rapidly solidifies, coating the blades in hardened rock. This violently alters the aerodynamic profile of the turbine. It clogs the crucial fuel nozzles and disrupts internal cooling. This triggers an immediate compressor stall and total engine flameout. Aviation is the nervous system of the modern, globalized world. It is built entirely on the promise of rapid movement. Yellowstone instantly turns that movement into a fatal liability. The sky is dead. Now the glass begins to fall on the breadbasket. High-altitude winds push the massive plume eastward. A creeping shadow blankets the American Midwest. This is the agricultural heart of the entire globe. Endless cornfields and cattle ranches are buried under heavy grey dust. The immediate agricultural wipeout is absolute. The physical weight of the ash simply crushes the crop stalks. Chemically, it coats the leaves and completely blocks their stomata. Photosynthesis halts instantly. But the ash does not just kill the biology, it systematically murders the machines. Ground transportation across the continent violently seizes up. The logistical supply chain relies entirely on diesel engines. Diesel trucks, trains and tractors require massive intakes of air. The jagged silica particulates easily bypass standard automotive air filters. The glass dust is sucked directly into the combustion cylinders. It immediately mixes with the engine oil. This creates a highly abrasive, industrial grinding paste. Within hours of operation, it completely shreds the internal pistons. The engines seize permanently. Nothing can move anywhere. The physical movement of food stops completely. People pray for rain to wash the nightmare away. This is a fatal misunderstanding of volcanic physics. Rain does not dissolve pulverized glass. When dry volcanic ash absorbs water, it expands massively. Its weight spikes to over 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter. It turns into a heavy, wet, cement-like sludge. As little as 10 centimeters of wet ash will collapse a commercial flat roof. It flows into municipal drainage systems and solidifies, causing catastrophic urban flooding. Even worse, wet ash is highly electrically conductive. It coats high-voltage power lines and substations. This triggers massive phase-to-phase electrical shorts. The power grid collapses right alongside the food supply. A city starves the exact moment the trucks stop. With the engines dead and the grid fried, the supply chain snaps. Grocery store shelves are stripped bare in a matter of days. The fracture of America accelerates rapidly. The military is not deployed to fight nature. They are deployed to protect the last remaining warehouses from desperate citizens. The immediate blast zone is erased. The American Midwest is smothered in glass, but the most devastating weapon is still in the stratosphere. The eruption injects millions of tons of sulfur dioxide gas into the sky. It is pushed far above the troposphere, where rain cannot wash it out. Up there, the sulfur dioxide undergoes photochemical oxidation. It violently reacts with water vapor to form sulfuric acid aerosols. These microscopic particles are highly reflective. They act like billions of tiny mirrors suspended in the atmosphere. They scatter incoming solar radiation directly back into deep space. The surface of the Earth is suddenly starved of thermal energy. Average global temperatures plummet by up to 10 degrees Celsius. The world is plunged into an artificial ice age. This is not a localized bad harvest. This is a synchronized global crop failure. The United States is a primary exporter of caloric staples. When North American exports cease, global food math completely fails. International treaties dissolve overnight. Wealthy nations aggressively hoard their finite grain reserves. Import-reliant nations face total, unmitigable famine within 90 days. The disaster evolves from a localized geological event. It becomes a global climate event. And finally, it devolves into a desperate resource war. Years pass under a permanently grey sky. The global population is drastically reduced. Humanity is colder, poorer, and deeply suspicious. The era of rapid global trade is over. Utilitarian futurescapes replace sprawling modern cities. Hardened borders and heavily guarded indoor farms become the new reality. The geopolitical map is completely redrawn. Digital wealth and fiat currency mean absolutely nothing. The only true currency left is agricultural autonomy. Nations that can feed themselves hold absolute power. The rest simply cease to exist. This is a scenario written in the geological record. We built a fragile, interconnected machine, and we built it directly on top of a sleeping monster. We are always one catastrophe away from extinction.